This week, we are continuing our study of Advent. So far, we've talked about what it is and how it fits into the annual, yearly calendar cycle for the church. And I've also argued that it should be we should have more of an Advent orientation than a Christmas orientation or a holiday orientation. So this week, I want to focus on one of the big themes around Advent. If you come early enough to the church services during Advent, you know that we light one of the candles in the Advent wreath. And those candles stand for different things: hope, peace, joy, and love. So I want us to think this week about the topic of love. Now, there's a sense in which the entire Bible is about love, right? I don't completely agree with that. As a matter of fact, when I was a college pastor, one of the ways that I would discern whether or not a college student knew anything about the Bible is to ask them to describe it, to use one or two words to describe the Bible. And those that picked the word love, I thought, okay, well, maybe sort of, but probably not. And certainly not love in some sort of generic, sentimental kind of sense. There is this idea, obviously, that this is a love letter, or this book displays God's love through the incarnation of Christ and then ultimately his crucifixion. But it's not a perfect answer. And so let me just note that we see love more fully on display as we move down from the Bible to maybe a topic, a theme. So systematic theology is the study of different topics, and love is one of the big attributes of God, and so consequently, love is one of the big themes in any systematic theology book. We could say that stepping down from the Bible to themes to looking at individual books in the Bible, there's a sense in which the book of Ruth is a book that is all about love. We might go on and talk about other books that are mostly about love. The Song of Solomon is a book that is more about erotic love, but it's erotic love to help us better understand love generally and God's love. So if we step further down from the Bible to themes to books, we step down to chapters. There are chapters of the Bible that are very much focused on love. John 15 is one of them. This is the passage that talks about the vine and the branches, and where Jesus says, as the Father has loved me, so I love you. We could also look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, right? Or 1 John 4. These are sometimes referred to as love chapters. They show up frequently in weddings. I have occasionally been known to say that Paul was not writing to his fiancée when he wrote 1 Corinthians 13, but it's a love chapter. Then within chapters, there are stories that are all about love. So the parable of the Good Samaritan is very much a story about love. And then within individual stories, we have even just words that capture the essence of love. So it's worth noting that in the Bible, Old Testament being written in Hebrew, when it came time to translate the Bible from Hebrew into Greek, because after Alexander the Great conquered the world, sort of the known world at that time, the people living in the Roman Empire, of which many Christians were them, they needed to be able to read the Old Testament, and they didn't often read Hebrew or Latin, which also sort of started to spread. So the Old Testament was translated into Greek. And when they did that, the translators discovered that although there were three different words in the Greek language that were commonly used to talk about love, one of them was phileo. So phileo means brotherly love. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. And philanthropic is being, loving in that kind of way. It's also the word sturgé, which is sort of the love that a parent has for a child. It's an intense fondness. And then, of course, there's the word erotic, which describes sensuality, physical love, sex. But none of those words were enough to capture some of the Hebrew emphasis on God's love for us. And so a new word gets developed. It's a word that wasn't being used very much, but then it gets sort of repurposed for the idea of God's sacrificial, other-centered kind of love. And that, of course, is the Greek word agape. So we're going to be thinking about God's love, which is on display, which is a big theme for Advent. More on this tomorrow. Have a good day.